a lot of people don't realize, like, terpenes are solvents, some cannabinoids are solvents.
So your body makes acetone. It is a
Right.
solvent. You drink alcohol at
Yep.
40, 80%. You have no problem with it. You make lactic acid and alcohol as a solvent. If I steam distill terpenes off of plants, I get something called a plant hydrocarbon.
Yeah.
Which is what dinosaurs and plants is what hydrocarbons are made out of, right?
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
steam something and I'm getting a hydrocarbon in my steam distilled terpenes because it's a natural plant process.
Right.
It's a short chain carbon
Yep.
with the hydrogens on it, and it's at 10% in steam distilled preparations.
Yeah.
So it's like the concept of what is a solvent, when is it dirty? It's toxicological threshold.
Yeah.
We use clean solvents. So it's important to us to get our solvent from the distillery. So they test it as it comes out and it's put into our tank.
Yeah.
The only impurities are the other propane and butane. So the impurity in propane is butane and the impurity in our protein is butane. And
Yeah.
basically it's 100. They take the tanks and they clean the insides out and they restem all of them because LPG tanks are notoriously in a dirty.
Yep.
They don't worry about that. So they give us a certificate. They give us a stamp on the tank. They tell us the documentation of how it was transported.
Yeah.
And all of that is going to be, our tank number is going to be listed on this product number so that we know where that came from. Yeah.
That's really good to hear because, and I promise we'll finish this up, but you keep making me think of other things that I want to mention. But going back to GMP and that sort of thing, something that is less enforced in the food and dietary supplement world is definitely enforced in pharma. And it should be enforced anytime there's extraction going on. But you were talking about why not to recycle solvents in a closed loop system and everything. Well, one reason why that is oftentimes really difficult or impossible to do in a pharma setting is because you have to validate the purity of the recovered solvent, and it has to be a certain purity before it can be used again in the process.
So imagine government saying, "Oh, that stuff's dangerous. You got to reuse it every time until it's done." I'm in the business of making the products. You're not in the business of making them. So I want, a decent product. But like I said, all the acetone, I told you what we use for steel and PTFE and glass and everything. The acetone that we use to clean it, it's HPLC grade to the top.
99.9 plus
Yeah.
percent.
It's not the stuff from the hardware store, Greasy Joe.
You're not using naphtha?
No. So it's all in it. It's just $20 more.
Right.
It's not a big deal. But it's a big deal to us because we know that every time we use our acetone or ISO, it's of that level of quality. It doesn't have any of those other impurities, and it's in like a container it's supposed to be in.
Yeah. Well, I hope that everyone listening to this, by hearing us talk about some of these nuances, maybe it'll spur some new questions. They'll start asking
and then you
producers.
say, how do customers know? You tell them to look at this and ask all those people these questions that they learned here today and try to understand more about who they're getting their products from.
Yeah, and particularly dispensaries that are buying, things in bulk and reselling. I mean, this is something like I strongly recommend devise a simple quality questionnaire to issue to vendors. And if they have a hard time answering questions about chemical compatibility or the quality of inputs and that sort of thing, like that's a huge red flag. And there are enough producers out there, you can hunt down the good ones that are trying to do things right, that are measuring their own quality and managing that, that you don't have to push out bad product just for the sake of having something on the shelf. And hopefully that'll continue. But